Errol Spence Jr. Shout out to Jay Calderon, Boxing Talk.
What's up, y'all? It's your boy, Jay Calderon from Stand Clear Entertainment and Fight Hook News, and we're about to bring you this week's Boxing Talk. This Saturday, December the 5th, it is the Fox pay-per-view showdown and the return of boxing's best top 5 pound-for-pound fighters in the world today. Unified WBC and IBF welterweight champion Errol "The Truth" Spence Jr. taking on former 2-division world champion Danny "Swift" Garcia. This is a 14-month layoff from one of the best fights of the year in 2019 when Errol Spence last stepped into the ring against Showtime Shawn Porter. That was Fight of the Year candidate right there. A great fight matchup. But then follow up a month later, it was the horrific car accident that almost took the life of Errol Spence Jr. Thank God this man was able to recover, and now he's ready to step back into the ring on December 5th, 2020. It's been a long time that we have waited to see Errol Spence come back into the ring because he is one of the most exciting boxers today in boxing, one of the hottest fighters out there, and this man is the top dog at 147 pounds. He is considered the man in the division, and he's going up against a former world champion who is a very solid, dangerous fighter, a risky fight to come back after such a big accident that he had. You know, people was questioning, why is Errol Spence taking such a risk in this fight right here? He should have took up a tune-up fight against an easier opponent. But Errol Spence said he wants to be considered the best fighter in the world. He didn't want no easy tune-ups. He wanted to face the top fighters out there in the welterweight division. And Danny Garcia, you know, even though he's 2-2 right now in his career in big fight opportunities, we know early on in his career, when he was a little bit unknown, he was facing one of the top 5 pound-for-pound best fighters in Amir Khan. Back in the days, Khan was the unified 140-pound junior welterweight champion. He had lightning hand speed. He was the heavy favorite to beat Danny Garcia, which a lot of people didn't know who Danny Garcia was. He was coming up in the ranks, and Danny Garcia was losing that fight for the first 3 rounds. He was getting outboxed and just dazzled by the hand speed of Amir Khan. And then boom, just like that, Amir Khan's chin showed up to the party, and it was game over. Danny Garcia was able to knock him out and put himself into the spotlight in boxing as a unified champion at the junior welterweight division. He made his mark and stepped up against one of the most dangerous fighters and fear fighters back at 140 pounds. Lucas Matisse was ripping through the junior welterweight division as a devastating puncher, a machine. And Danny Garcia boxed one of the best performances of his career that night when he dominated Lucas Matisse and even put Lucas Matisse down in the later part of that fight and won a decision. And we saw Danny Garcia rising to that pound-for-pound list as one of the top fighters out there in boxing. And then we saw him later on move up in weight to the welterweight division and become a 2-division world champion, and then face another top fighter in the welterweight division who was also a champion, in Keith "One-Time" Thurman. That was a great matchup fight. It was one fight that was very close, but it was Keith Thurman that dug down deep and was able to outbox and win a decision against Danny Garcia, who started off too late in that fight and fell behind. And then he had his big opportunity to become a world champion again when he faced Showtime Shawn Porter in a great fight. It was an outstanding fight, a close fight, a dog fight between the two. But it was Shawn Porter who was able to pull out a decision over Danny Garcia and win that fight. So, you know, Danny Garcia, like I said, he's 2-2 in big fight opportunities. This is his 5th big fight of his career, and he's going up against the very best in the welterweight division. And Danny Garcia has a lot to prove, you know, to stay relevant in boxing. He wants to become a world champion again. He wants to show that he could beat Errol Spence and prove that he is one of the best fighters in the world today. You know, pound for pound top dog. He wants to be that man. And Danny Garcia, you know, he does have a chance because we don't know how Errol Spence is going to react after that horrific car accident and being away for 14 months. You're going to have some ring rust. You're going to have to see how he reacts once he gets hit with the big shots that Danny Garcia hits him with, because Danny is a very hard-hitting puncher. He's a powerful puncher, and he also has a great chin. This man has one of the best chins in boxing. He could take the power of a Keith Thurman, a Sean Porter, and a Lucas Matisse. You could expect him to take the power of Errol Spence as well. Spence is a very hard-hitting puncher, but it's going to be very interesting to see. Once Spence is not able to stop Danny Garcia, and Danny Garcia is going to have to dig deep. He's going to have to go to the body a lot and try to hurt Errol Spence and try to see how he reacts going into deep waters late in this fight to see if he can take control. He's also going to have to start very early, because Danny Garcia is a notorious slow starter. He's a flat-footed fighter. This guy doesn't kick it into gear until perhaps the 4th round, and that's too late, especially against a guy like Errol Spence, who's going to start off pretty fast. He's going to utilize that southpaw stance that he has, that jab. He's a very good boxer. He's a good technician, boxer, puncher, and he's going to be able to rip those shots to the body, because he's one of the best body punchers in the game today. And he is going to really go into attack mode early to prove to the boxing fans that he is not done, that this accident was just a setback for a greater comeback. And you're going to see a guy like Errol Spence put on a great show. This is what boxing fans are hoping. We're hoping to see the old or better improved Errol Spence when he steps into the ring against Danny Garcia. Make no mistakes about it. This is going to be a great fight. It was supposed to take place back in January, the beginning of 2020, but it's happening at the end of the year. And, because of the pandemic and also the car accident, it gave time for Errol Spence to heal. And it kind of put everybody on an even playing field, because Danny hasn't fought since early on in 2020. Errol Spence definitely going to have his work cut out for him in this fight, because Danny's going to come to fight. This guy is a dog, Philadelphia, Puerto Rican, that really likes to fight. He really likes to bang out in there. So the style matchup is going to be exciting. Just like the Sean Porter and Errol Spence fight was very exciting. You had aggressive fighters, and they went at it, and it was a close fight, a very good fight. And you saw Errol Spence had to dig deep in those championship rounds and put Sean Porter down in order to edge out the victory against Sean Porter. Can Errol Spence put Danny Garcia down? And that's going to be a situation that we're going to have to wait and see if Errol Spence can actually pull that off by putting Danny Garcia to the canvas, because, like I said before, Danny Garcia has a great chin. So you're going to expect him to be there for the full 12 rounds, and he's been training very hard. This man is ready. This man has been working nonstop, and he's looking to prove something. He's looking to make a statement in this fight to show that he is not finished, because let's face it, if Danny Garcia can't beat Errol Spence coming off a horrific car accident and 14-month layoff, then, Danny Garcia is going to become a gatekeeper in the sport of boxing. Danny Garcia is still a live dog for anybody out there. I would like to see Danny Garcia versus Adrian Broner. That's an attractive fight right there, but Danny Garcia has fought everyone basically in the welterweight division except Mikey Garcia, Manny Pacquiao, or even Terrence Bud Crawford. Those are 3 interesting fights that are possible for Danny Garcia if he's able to pull out a victory against Errol Spence. But the Mikey Garcia fight is a fight that was supposed to happen but fell through. That's still a fight that can happen even if he loses this fight against Errol Spence. So, Danny still got options. He has Al Heyman in his corner. We've seen the work that he has done for guys like Adrian Broner, getting opportunities after opportunities. So it's not the end of the road for Danny Garcia. Like I said, he's still a live dog for anybody out there. But this is a big fight for him to become a unified champion, to become back on the pound-for-pound list as one of the best fighters in the world. But Errol Spence Jr., this is his time to shine. This is his time to prove that he is the man in the welterweight division, that this setback is nothing, that he's going to be able to come back and look spectacular in this fight. This is what we're hoping, because we know Errol has the boxing skills. We know that he could go to the body. We know that he has the punching power. He has that dog fight in him. Fights like the Kell Brook and the Sean Porter prove that he is a top-notch fighter, top 5 pound-for-pound best fighter in the world. Between him and Terrence Crawford, who's considered to be the number 1, I got him as the number 2 on my pound-for-pound list. These guys are the two top fighters in the welterweight division. And we want to see Terrence Crawford versus Errol Spence in the near future. And we're hoping that in 2021, this is the fight that ESPN and Fox or Showtime, PBC network could come together with Bob Arum and Al Heyman making the fight just like they did with Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury. This is the type of fight that needs to happen now. Boxing needs this type of magnitude. We already seen old-timers like Mike Tyson and Roy Jones Jr. These guys are in their 50s, well past their prime, putting in pay-per-view numbers that showing that true star power. And these guys right here need to become the next generation of star power to put a great pay-per-view together, just like Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather. They were past their prime, and we waited far too long for that fight to happen. We need these guys to step into the ring against each other now and make this fight happen. Terrence Crawford is not going to be a free agent until next year, October, and we don't want to wait that long. Bob Arum is not going to let him out of his contract. This man, no matter what he says, Terrence Crawford is still a big piece of Top Rank's Big Fight Network. You cannot say that Terrence Crawford is going to leave Top Rank or he's going to be cut from Top Rank and he's going to join PBC right away. This fight is going to be made only if Bob Arum and Al Heyman come together with the networks and see enough money on the table to make this fight. Errol Spence has already said he wants 60-40 split. That's not going to happen. Errol Spence is the top dog in the welterweight division, but Terrence Crawford is the top dog in boxing, period. These guys are great champions. Errol Spence has held down 147 with 2 world titles. He's had the better resume in the welterweight division with top name fighters, but Terrence Crawford has the better accomplishments in his career as a 3-division world champion. He's been dominant at lightweight. He's been dominant as the undisputed king of the junior welterweights at 140 pounds. And now he's a world champion at welterweight, knocking out all the top contenders that are in division. They might not be the big names that Errol Spence has fought, but he's fought some solid fighters, some undefeated fighters, top contenders in the welterweight division, and he has beaten these guys convincingly and dominantly, and he is considered to be pound for pound the best fighter in the world. He's a world champion. He's undefeated. These men need to come together. 50-50 split is a very good, fair, split of the money because of the accolades of both men, because of the status of both men. These men need to give the boxing fans the fight that they deserve. This is a super fight. This is Marvin Hagler versus Sugar Ray Leonard type of status. And we need this fight in 2021. So is Danny Garcia going to derail those plans? I see Danny Garcia starting slow as usual. I see Danny Garcia, trying to work the body with some good body work and also getting into the trenches and digging deep with those big power shots. Is Errol Spence going to be able to take those shots? Spence has a pretty good chin. Has he faced somebody like a puncher like Danny Garcia? No, he hasn't. We can't say Sean Porter was a better puncher. Danny Garcia plants his feet much better and loads up with big shots, especially with that left hook. Is a dangerous punch. And we're going to see if Errol Spence takes those shots well and he's able to return fire. We know that Kell Brooks was a very good puncher with that right hand, and he did give a lot of problems to a guy like Errol Spence. But Errol Spence was able to break him down in the later rounds. And we're going to see if Errol Spence could come in those later rounds with that firepower and break down somebody like Danny Garcia and win perhaps a decision in this fight, because I don't see a knockout happening in this fight for either man. I see this fight going the distance to a 12-round close decision, and it's going to come down to who's going to win those later rounds and go and put it into the second, third gear and really take over this fight to separate themselves and prove that they were the better man on fight night. But you're going to have to tune in to the Fox pay-per-view event, and it's going to be, I think, around $75 for this fight. It's going to be a very good fight, and it's happening in Texas in the backyard of Errol Spence. So this is a homecoming, for the man that's coming back from a terrific, great fight last year and also from a horrific car accident, and he's going to step into the ring in front of his fans, because fans will be allowed into the stadium So it's going to be a warm welcome for Errol the True Spence, and we're going to see how he performs under the lights, if he's still the man in boxing, or is Danny Garcia catching him at the right moment and right time, coming back from that accident and being off so long that he's able to capitalize and become victorious in this fight, and also a two-time welterweight champion, a unified champion of the division by capturing the WBC and IBF titles. It's going to be an outstanding fight. No doubt about it. I can't wait. Super excited. But my predictions in this fight is Errol Spence winning a close 12th round split decision victory over Danny Garcia. But that's my final take on this fight right here. So tune into the fight on Fox Pay-Per-View. I would like to thank everyone for tuning into this YouTube channel right here, J. Calderon Boxing Talk. Please hit that little red subscribe button. Hit that bell icon so you get all my notifications once I drop a new video. Also, follow me on all social media platforms, on Twitter, on Instagram, and join the Facebook boxing group page. I'm J. Calderon for Stan Clean Entertainment and Fight Hook News. Thanks for your support. Keep watching and please subscribe.